Rolex watches are becoming less and less attainable by the day, meaning the average Joe has to look elsewhere to get their horology fix. But what are the best affordable alternatives to each of the models currently sold by Rolex? Of course, the terms best and affordable are subjective. These are just my choices, and for this video we are defining affordable as watches that cost around £500, euros or dollars maximum. And we're avoiding exact clones where possible, instead trying to pick great looking alternatives. This video is really for people who will never be in a position to buy a brand new Rolex. If you really want the Rolex, it's likely that nothing else will do. The Rolex Submariner is possibly the most recognisable watch of all time. It definitely is one of the most copied Rolexes of all time, and the Casio MDV-106, aka the Duro, is one such copy. The Duro is a bona fide dive watch, however, with a water resistance rating of 200 metres and a full stainless steel case, all for around £50. The only real downside is the size at around 44mm. Casio has started producing a smaller version, the MDV-10, but at around 36mm it's too small for most wrists, and water resistance is just 50 metres, which is poor. A 40mm version would certainly please a lot more people. Seiko watches aren't quite the value proposition they once were, but the Seiko 5 Sports Blueberry SSK002 is still a proper modern Seiko gem. It has the classic Pepsi bezel that has become synonymous with Rolex GMT watches, the divisive Cyclops over the date window, and a beautiful Jubilee style bracelet. But it's more than just a Rolex ripoff, because it harkens back to the legendary SKX series which enthusiasts still adore. It comes in at 42.5mm in diameter, but has a short lug-to-lug, making it wearable for most people. It costs £420, which in today's ever-rising market is very good for a proper GMT watch. The Rolex Daytona is probably the brand's most sought after watch, and most models command a significant premium over retail, but it wasn't always this way. The Daytona was initially a flop, but now it's one of the most iconic watches of all time and has spawned many pretenders and homages. The Nevada Grenchen Chrono King Paul Newman is based on the namesake from the 1960s, and it has all the hallmarks of a classic racing chronograph. The 38mm case size and the orange accents and yellow subdials give it a very vintage vibe. Of course, it isn't perfect. The 24-hour subdial is one of the hallmarks of the Seiko Mecha Quartz movement, which a lot of people don't like. There's also the slight problem that it's currently sold out, but if it does get restocked at $479 it might be worth a look. Rolex claims that the Explorer was the first watch to make it to the summit of Mount Everest, but famous watch brand Smiths also stakes a claim to that title. If I'm not mistaken, the original Smiths brand stopped making watches not long after the quartz crisis, and the brand as it exists today has been revived by the man behind the Time Factors website. The Smiths Everest PRS 25 looks nothing like the Smiths Deluxe that made it to the top of Everest. Instead, it's more of a Explorer clone. It has the same 36mm case size and classic 3, 6 and 9 numerals. The major difference is this watch costs £345. The Rolex Explorer 2 is a bit of a black sheep of the Rolex family. You can pick these models up for close to retail prices. The Christopher Ward C63 GMT is obviously inspired by the Explorer 2, with very similar styling and the same 24-hour bezel. It boasts the respectable Sellita SW330-2 GMT movement and a GMT hand that can be set independently. It does retail for £1,050, which is quite a bit more than the budget for this video. But on the secondary market, you may be able to get one closer to that magical £500 price point. The Rolex Datejust is the entry point for most enthusiasts. It has usually been one of the most affordable and one of the most readily available models. The Laurier Astra is a really sexy alternative with a very similar vibe. It contains elements of the Rolex Datejust, but also the Universal Genève Pole Rater and Breitling Transocean, and absolutely nails the vintage look. It has a really cool loomed chapter ring and contains a reliable Miyota 9015 automatic movement. It retails for $499, but you'll have to wait a while to get your hands on one as the initial production run is sold out and you now have to pre-order. I haven't forgotten the Lady Datejust, it's just that 96.3% of viewers of this channel are men, unfortunately. Before stainless steel sports models became the in thing, the Day-Date was Rolex's flagship model. These watches only come in precious metal, and as such it's impossible to find a true alternative that's affordable. My pick is a watch that is very different, but still captures that sporty, gaudy yellow gold aesthetic. It is of course the Quartz Tissot PRX. The PRX has been raved about over the last couple of years. The gold PRX is less so, and I actually think the gold editions are the best versions of the watch because there aren't many alternatives at the price point, if any at all. It looks great, the bracelet is fabulous, and it costs around £425 before discounts, which is pretty good for a Swiss-made watch. The Rolex Air King used to be a small, dainty, entry-level Rolex. Now it's a unique looking aviation inspired watch. For me, it's a confusing mix of styles, and that's why I've simply picked a proper pilot's watch, a Flieger Type B, Laco Aachen 39. It has the classic World War II era styling with legitimate heritage, as Laco was one of the original Flieger manufacturers during the war. It contains a Miyota 8 series movement, which aren't the best movements, but the price reflects this at around £310. The Rolex Oyster Perpetual is the most versatile watch in the brand's catalogue. If a one-watch collection was a thing, this would be it. Dress it up, dress it down, do whatever you want with it, it'll work in most situations. Citizen NB1050 is a similarly versatile watch. It's sort of a spiritual successor to the Seiko Saab 035. It has a case size of 38mm, meaning it will fit most wrists, and contains the caliber 9011, a trusty automatic Japanese movement. The Rolex Sky Dweller is a pretty unusual watch, with a 24-hour subdial and an annual calendar feature. There really is nothing quite like it on the market. You can get watches that look somewhat similar, but the movement is too complicated to be easily replicated in an affordable watch. Since it is still a GMT watch, I've gone with a Trasca Ventura GMT. It has a sporty design, but with a 24-hour internal bezel, and that all-important Miyota 9075 automatic movement, which allows the user to adjust the GMT hand independently. The Rolex 1908 is the latest addition to the brand's lineup, replacing the long-standing Cellini line. I don't think it's much of a looker though, and I've not seen any brand that has outright copied the watch as of yet. So I've simply picked a dress watch with a small seconds subdial, the Breguet-inspired rotary Canterbury. Famous for appearing on BBC TV show Sherlock, worn by Benedict Cumberbatch. It has a lovely hobnail style dial, sexy wire lugs and classy Roman numerals. This is the watch you buy if you're more no money than old money. It's quartz, and for some reason Rotary is now calling this the traditional or something like that. These retail for £139, but you can often pick them up for half that on the used market. The Rolex Sea Dweller is the brand's serious dive watch, designed for people who need extra water resistance, with a depth rating of 1,220 metres. The Addis Dive NY-H6 only has 1,000 metres of water resistance. It looks like a hockey puck on the wrist, with a thickness of 13.8mm and a diameter of 45mm, but wears deceptively well due to its hidden lugs. It has loomed dial indices and bezel, and contains the bargain basement Seiko NH35 automatic movement. At around the time of recording this video, the watch is selling for £60 to £70 on AliExpress, plus taxes and shipping, which is great value. The Rolex Sea Dweller Deep Sea Challenge is one of those watches that nobody really knows why it exists. It's a feat of engineering excellence for sure, but it has little practical use in the real world. The Zelos Abyss, on the other hand, offers 3,000 metres of water resistance for those who want to dive until their body is crushed into lifeless mush. It's big and rugged and tough and mean looking, just like me. Zelos watches tend to sell out quickly, but this watch has already seen 3 iterations in its lifetime, so I'm sure it will be back again soon at some point if you can't find one on the used market. So keep your eyes peeled. The Rolex Yachtmaster was originally designed as a replacement for the Submariner. In the end, the Yachtmaster was released alongside the Submariner as a more luxurious dive watch option. The titanium Yachtmaster is one of the best offerings in Rolex's current catalogue in my opinion, with that gorgeous monochrome colourway. It just has that little bit of pizzazz. The Steinhardt Ocean 1 Black Ceramic is a rip-off that offers sort of similar looks and specifications, but for a fraction of the price. So there we have it. Did I miss any models? Probably, but it's a bit late now because this is the end of the video. Let me know in the comments what you think. And this is my last video for 2023, so thank you to everyone for watching, liking, subscribing, sharing and all that good stuff. And I hope to see you again back here in the new year.